honestly, I'm not against people buying all these random altcoins. I think they have to get it out of their system. If they're going to gamble, they're going to gamble. You can't stop them. For example, I was a gambler before. I used to buy random options of companies that I didn't understand, lost a lot of money. But over time, I figured out how Bitcoin works and why Bitcoin is the ultimate savings tool, why you should save in Bitcoin over the long term. I think a lot of people, they see money as just something that they need to transfer from place to place. They need to transfer it. Let's say, for example, they need to pay for whatever they need to pay for. So they'll give you all these benefits of random chains, like they're faster or they're cheaper. I don't care about cheaper. If I want it cheaper, I'll just use my Visa card. I don't have to pay a fee to use my Visa. I know the merchant has to pay the fee, but why would I want to go to some random cryptocurrency that isn't that much better than the current financial system, that isn't as widely adopted, that can be created out of nothing, that can't be used as money. Nobody wants to use it as money yet. At least there are some people who want to use Bitcoin as money. There is nobody who wants to use all these random altcoins as money. All of these random altcoins are, at least in my opinion, they're just looking for exit liquidity. That's literally it. And back to what you were saying about free markets, that's how free markets work, right? The free market is designed to have people who have an information asymmetry. Let's say, for example, XRP's leadership team. They have an information asymmetry. They know that the ledger is missing. They know that they don't even have a complete ledger. And to me, that's so funny. The fact that they have this massive accounting error and people think that it's going to be the global reserve currency, the level of stupidity doesn't even make any sense, to be honest. But when I point it out, they argue with me. They tell me, "Hey, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Who's Satoshi Nakamoto?" It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who Satoshi Nakamoto is because the network works. If Ripple were to disappear, XRP wouldn't work anymore because there's nobody marketing XRP. There's nobody posting about buying XRP. I actually see regularly. I see ads from Ripple or whoever it is, whoever's controlling the account. They're regularly posting, we're doing an airdrop or we're doing this or we're doing that. If you didn't get it for free, then you wouldn't be doing airdrops in the first place.
How many influencers are they paying, right? Like how many influencers are these centralized entities paying to shill their coins? I mean, we have no idea to know that. It's
exactly.
It's so wild. Like the free market. So one of the best things too is you always get this, it's a free market. Like just let the free market decide, guys. I thought you were free market. It's like, yeah, the free market. I'm allowed to sit here with Rajat and tell people the ills of what you're investing in and what you're telling other people to invest in. That's part of the free market. I am a part of the free market. I am the free market. Like exactly. Rajat is the free market, and we're doing what's in our best incentive for not only us, but for everyone around us to get on this free permissionless monetary standard and then go have fun, have at it. But this is the free market. Welcome to it.
I actually think if anything, Bitcoiners are very selfless because let's say, for example,
that's all I've seen.
If nobody had, if those books behind you, the bullish case for Bitcoin, the price of tomorrow, if Saifedean hadn't written his book, if all these books hadn't been written, then I wouldn't have understood Bitcoin at all. And Bitcoin's price probably wouldn't have increased. And those people that wrote those books would have been able to accumulate more and more Bitcoin. I think Andreas Antonopoulos gave away thousands of Bitcoin in total, something like that. I don't remember the exact number, but he was mentioning it in a podcast. He was saying how he gave away thousands of Bitcoin. And he knew where this was going a decade ago, more than a decade ago. He knew where, like you can see videos of him like 9 to 11 years ago, something like that. But he knew where this was going. He was predicting that it's going to millions of dollars. So why would he give away all these Bitcoin if he was being selfish? It's completely selfless. Even, for example, your podcast, my content, we're putting time into creating this content, helping other people to understand what Bitcoin is and why they should own it. It's not like we're selling. I haven't sold any. I sold a little bit of Bitcoin. So, for example, I had to buy a mic. I didn't have enough cash at the time. I didn't want to use my credit card. I bought a mic.
Yeah.
It was just an investment for me, basically. So I sold some Bitcoin. But let's say, for example, I sold $300 worth of Bitcoin. I don't need exit liquidity. I don't need to convince somebody to buy that $300 worth of Bitcoin, right? Somebody's going to buy it regardless. So with all these other cryptocurrencies, it's not a selfless act. It's a very selfish act because what they're trying to do is they're trying to get you to buy their cryptocurrency. They're trying to create a floor price for their cryptocurrency so they can dump into it. And that's what differentiates it. Like I said, with Bitcoin, it's very selfless because if, let's say, Saifedean hadn't written his book, how many people wouldn't have been orange pilled? He would have just been able to buy Bitcoin for $100, $200, $500. He could have just stayed in his lane kept doing what he does before. He was a professor, I think he was. He could have kept teaching and he could have kept accumulating Bitcoin. But it worked out for him because now he has the best selling book in the world. I don't think that the book was written with the intention of being the best selling economics finance book in the world, but it worked out for him because he was selfless. He was offering so much value to the people who want to read his books. It's always going to work out for people who are truly adding value to the economy.
Yeah. And it's funny. Again, it goes back to, makes me think of, are your enemies purchasing these altcoins? You know, like, are enemies purchasing these scams or affinity coins?
Yeah.
Are they, how many XRP books are written out there, right? Like, you can take all these things in the margin and it gives you the answer you're looking for, right? Like triangulating truth.
Yeah.
Like, how many are my enemies doing it? Are there books on it? You know, are there, you know, people like you said, you go into chat rooms, you can go into videos. How are they talking about it? Are they talking about, hey, we're going to change the world and we're bettering our life with our nutrition, sleep patterns? Or is it like, hey, where's my exit liquidity, right? It's very
Yeah.
obvious once you start looking at these things. So I'm glad you brought that up. It's brilliant. I just went back and started reading the Fidelity little reports they put out a couple of years ago, and they're so good. I haven't read them in like 3 years, and like Bitcoin first, and then Bitcoin first, and I forget the other one now. I don't know why, but those are so good. I don't know if you read though, but they go through like the blockchain, the trilemma, everything. And again, like you go through and you start seeing the importance of what Bitcoin is versus all these other things. And pretty much every other coin was, they were creating this attack surface that would be captured at some point because they chose to trade off, you know, either decentralization or security for that scalability quotient in some way or another. That's some, you know, for those who don't know, obviously those are the three: scalability, decentralization, and security. So Bitcoin chose decentralization and security, where all these others are trying to, hey, like you said, how can we be a faster version of this? Or what can we do here to kind of make it a little different? But then it increases the attack surface. In saying all that, are there anything, what are the big things that really you've kind of relied on, or that, you know, orange pilled you, or was it big reports? Was it listening to certain people? What were some of the things that really helped you kind of have those aha moments?
So there was actually I watched a socialist video about real estate and landlords and how landlords are terrible. It's so crazy. Like, I don't think most socialists even get what Bitcoin is, but that's the thing about Bitcoin. It's all these different things coming together, and you can't really understand it by just looking at one part of it. You need to look at it from different angles. So there was a socialist video. He was talking about how landlords buy real estate. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that, but they don't really do anything after. So they buy the real estate and they pay somebody, and they're just getting cash flows. They're really not adding anything to the society. They bought this property that's already been built. They're just taking it out of the market, and now everybody has to pay them for it. So that kind of got me to start thinking about the real estate side of things a little bit more. Um, there was definitely Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor was definitely a part of it. I saw on somebody's story they mentioned the Bitcoin Standard. I thought that was a great book. I think that was the only issue with the Bitcoin Standard is because I started reading it so early in my journey, it gave me more questions than it gave me
Mm.
answers. Because in the beginning, you're always going to be confused. Every topic is going to be very confusing. You might think that you know everything, but you're going to, if you do a really deep dive, you're going to have more and more questions. So that's what happened with the Bitcoin Standard. I thought the Bitcoin Standard was really great. I've actually listened to the audiobook maybe 5 times, and every time I pick up something new, which is amazing to me because it just means that I'm progressing in my understanding of where Bitcoin is going. So the Bitcoin Standard, that socialist video that I was talking about, Michael Saylor definitely was a huge impact. He had a huge impact on my knowledge. He every time he answers a question, he answers it with some kind of story that makes it hit harder. I don't know how to describe it, but he's so great with giving his examples, with giving his stories. So definitely listen to some of his podcasts. And I think something that really helped me was listening to debates between, let's say, gold bugs and Bitcoiners. That really helped me because when you listen to somebody arguing for the asset that they've been raised to understand, a lot of, let's say for example Peter Schiff. I read I watched a video between Peter Schiff and I don't remember who it was. There's quite a few of them actually. Even with Robert Breedlove, he had one recently with Robert Breedlove. But every time he gives you an argument, you can tell that he hasn't done the deep research. Just right off the bat, you can tell that when he says, "Oh, Bitcoin can be replicated," he doesn't quite understand that the copy of Bitcoin isn't real. It's not. It's like if somebody created fake, like it's pyrite versus gold. If somebody gave you fake pirates. If somebody gave you fool's gold versus real gold, you may not be able to tell, but you know what the differences are. You know that there are differences. Nobody wants fool's gold. So pyrite is that material. It looks like gold, but it's not actual gold. It doesn't have all the characteristics of gold. So if somebody gives you pyrite, you're going to feel like you're screwed over. It's exactly the same thing. If somebody gave me Ethereum when I asked them for Bitcoin, I'm going to feel stupid because Ethereum is not Bitcoin. Ethereum is completely different. It's a completely different chain. So when you listen to a lot of these gold bugs talking about Bitcoin, you can tell that there's a massive gap in their knowledge and they don't quite understand what Bitcoin is. They have this view of the world being on a gold standard and they think that we're going to continue on that gold standard, but they haven't looked at the alternatives. So that really helped me because it solidified my arguments. Because when you talk to somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about, you can easily pick apart their arguments. It really helped me to see that. And watching people like Robert Breedlove completely dismantle everything that Peter Schiff says, it's just awesome to me because it gives me more and more of an understanding of what I'm fighting for, what I'm looking at, what I'm teaching other people about.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Rajat. Honestly, like that, the Sailor stuff. So, two of the things that orange pilled me a ton were years ago. Max Kaiser talking about holding Bitcoin in your head. That was a mind blower for me. I don't know when that was. I was telling you offline, like 2016, 17, 18, somewhere in there. And then the Sailor series in 2020, when the lockdowns were happening, really solidified. That's when I sold my real estate business, all that, and really was like, hey, I'm going into Bitcoin full time. But the other thing was seeing the log chart as well, and seeing this when you're in linear, it just looks like, oh, things are crashing up and down against the dollar, and the log chart, you realize, oh, it's just mathematically up and to the right. It's just mathematically programmed to keep doing this because it's a network effect. So those were like the three of the big things to me. But I would love for you to just touch on even the first part of that, which is like holding the asset in your head. And people, this really trips people up. But you talking about Breedlove, you're talking about Sailor, these talks, most of what make me think of it is like, I didn't understand custody and really an asset in general until one, I hit Robert Kiyosaki 15 years ago, like asset pays you, it's got to pay you. Right. And like how backward society was, but that was still in a fiat system. But then when you advance to the Bitcoin stage, you start seeing everything in a clear picture finally. And you see that I don't own anything actually, like even the real estate, like I own real estate. We talked about you with real estate. You see these things and you're like, wait, I don't actually own it because I'm paying property taxes. Like they could just strip it away from me, or they could, if I have gold, they could beat me over the head and they could take it from me or whatever it is. But every asset, if they can lodge you away from that or, divest that from you somehow or eminent domain or whatever it is, you don't own it. And that, so self-custody to me and being able to hold that in your head, those words and a few words, memorize them, you can go anywhere in the world. Those were just game changers. And you start realizing this is different than anything we've ever seen. So I would love for you to kind of touch on some of those aspects and just your journey of just the importance of that.
If you want the answer to that question right there and you like that spicy clip, check it out here. Come on, we'll see you in there. But if you want the full interview in its entirety, all the spicy clips put together, and you're not going to want to miss it, believe me, then check that out here. Come on, we'll see you in there. Do it.